5.41 miles, 9 minutes, 28 seconds per mile, 136 beats per minute today, taking it nice and slow. Definitely trying to keep the heart rate extra low for today. Even though it did get a little bit warm, I just wanted to make sure I got it out there for a nice and easy recovery run, but more of like a systems check. It's something that I like to do after a big race. I usually get to give myself like a day or two of just complete rest and then go out for a relatively short run based on how I'm feeling, just to kind of see how everything's really feeling. Because sometimes like that first mile or even how you think you might feel during a run can be a little bit misleading. So I thought I'd go out for a run today. The other thing kind of pushing me forward is I don't have a ton of time, and I just sat down a minute ago to look at the calendar in a bit more detail to think about how I'm going to build up for the Chicago Marathon, and there is not a lot of time left. So I'm kind of freaking out. So let's take a look at like what we have left on the calendar. So this weekend will be September 5th. Then we got September 12th, 19th, and 26th. And by then we're 2 weeks out from the marathon, and that starts to taper. So there's really 4 like kind of like workout days left. This week I will just be doing lots of runs like today, keeping it easy before I really start ramping up. So then on Sunday, or maybe it'll be Saturday, I'm not sure which day it'll be, gonna try to connect with my running buddy, see where he's at. But I think this weekend will probably need to be a 15-mile run, which would be the longest run I've done in a very long time. The following week, I'll probably do a 17-mile run, and then 3 like Sundays from now will be September 19th. That is going to be the CARA, Chicago Area Runners Association 20-miler. I think I'm going to sign up for that. It is not a race. It is a supported training run, but it's a point-to-point 20-mile run with water stations every 2 miles, and then there's a shuttle that takes you back to the beginning. There's also beers at the finish. So like, I think that I might do that. I've seen people doing it every single year that I've been training for the marathon, and I've never done it. And I never sign up for it, and then I always kind of end up regretting it. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing this year. I haven't signed up for it yet, but that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. And even if I don't, a 20-miler on that day is probably going to be the day that I have like my one and only one 20-miler for this very, very short training block. Then the following week is going to be the Chicago Half Marathon. Last year, or at least in 2019, I ran for a PR at the Chicago Half Marathon. This year, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. It took me a couple of years to learn the lesson, but I've learned the lesson that that is a little bit too close for me to run a PR effort for a half marathon if I'm really trying to run a good marathon. So that one will probably be some sort of workout day, and I'll talk about it a little bit more as we get closer to it. Again, things may change depending on where my running buddy's at. So that's kind of where my head's at, generally speaking, in terms of the long runs. Now, the rest of the weeks, I'm not really going to be shooting for any sort of specific mileage target, just because it's an unusual training block for me, because I'm coming off of a triathlon, my first triathlon ever, and then like jumping into the middle of a marathon training block. But I do think that I'm going to try to get in 3 quality sessions a week. We already talked about the long runs. And then I think I'm probably going to do those all on Sundays, because the CARA 20-milers on a Sunday, the Chicago Half Marathons on a Sunday, Chicago Marathons on a Sunday. So I think I'm going to set it up that way. So my longest workout run is going to be on a Sunday. Then I'm thinking maybe Wednesday, Friday turns into my other quality session days. And I'm not sure which way I'll do them yet. I'm still going to play around with, and maybe I'll switch it around depending on how it goes. But I think I'm basically going to split between kind of 2 types of workouts. On one of the days, probably the Wednesday, that'll be like the faster day. So, you know, the first week I do it, it'll probably be more like the fartleks that I've been doing, where it's like 2 minutes on, 1 minute off at threshold pace for a certain amount of time. And then on the Friday, I'm thinking it'll be more like mile repeats. So a longer time at threshold, but maybe not necessarily mile repeats, more like 6 minutes on, 1 minute off. For maybe 5 or 6 repetitions. So that'll be like the 2 types of workouts. That earlier fartlek day will then eventually, probably like the second week into it, second of 3 weeks of work into it, will turn into something that looks a lot more like Yasso 800s, where basically it'll be like 3 minutes on, 3 minutes jogging at a much faster pace, like where I would put if I were training for a 5K, where I think that would be. So it'll be like 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off. So that's kind of like the training that I'll do. That'll be like the much faster day. Then I'll have a threshold day. Then I'll have the long run day, which the long run day will probably always have some number of marathon miles alternating marathon mile, easy mile, marathon mile, easy mile, and then some half marathon miles, and then easy miles. So like it'll kind of mix up in that way. I just like to have a lot of pace changes when I have a very long run, because otherwise I just get so bored and I feel like I'm spending too much time on feet. So that's basically what it's going to be. A fast day, a threshold day, and then a long run day. And I don't have a ton of time to ramp up. I came into triathlon training with a really good amount of aerobic fitness. Triathlon training kind of throws off the running quite a bit, but I'm going to hope that I did spend quite a bit of time, more time exercising, working out than I normally do for just running. But I know like the swimming time and the bike time doesn't exactly translate one-to-one to running time. So it'll be interesting to see how my body responds basically for this first long run this weekend, which will be, I think, a 15 miler seems doable with some, pace changes in there. So the build up for the Chicago Marathon isn't going to be the most like complicated. It's going to be really straightforward, but I think that is the kind of stuff that like I'm kind of simplifying things, and me kind of like stepping back and just like distilling it down to like the couple of workouts that really work for me or have worked for me well in the past with some success. Those are the ones that I'm going to lean pretty heavy on. Because the other thing is, I think we're at like 13 weeks out or maybe 14 weeks out from CIM. So that's also really close. And by the time Chicago is done, I'll only have like 8 weeks until CIM. And that's really my A race for the year. And so the Yasso 800s that I'm starting to build in now, I'm going to be doing those at 3 minutes for the 800s with 3 minutes of jogging rest. I believe that's how you're supposed to do it, and start building up. And so I think that depending on how well Chicago goes, I may keep that formula going into the rest of the CIM training block. But it's kind of like this is really a big CIM training block with the Chicago Marathon as a little bit more than a fun run, kind of thrown in like the beginning third of that training block. So it's a little bit unusual, but it's an unusual year. Hopefully I get to do all these races, and this is gonna be the plan. I'm gonna try to keep it like just things as simple as possible, because as you guys know, I have a tendency to overcomplicate things. I'll be running with a watch and a foot pod and a heart rate monitor and all that stuff, and a second watch so that I can listen to music as I'm running, and carrying cameras and all that stuff. So the runs, that will be plenty complicated. The workouts, I think I need to be very, very simple, and I think that's it. So if you have any questions about what my build-up's going to be leading up to the Chicago Marathon, let me know in the comments down below. Or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I would love to be able to talk to you in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?